Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I'm so happy to be with you again today as we consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. Today we'll be looking at the ABCs of acceptance as a path to clearing anxiety. All right, today's show, let's get going on the ABCs of acceptance as a path to clearing anxiety. We're going to go through this as ABC, but really we could go on forever about acceptance for anxiety. Claire Weeks talks about it. Other terms that get used are words like allowing. And so let's get started right with A, because that's what A stands for. Allow. To allow is another way to say acceptance. Acceptance is in the steps that Claire Weeks uses is number 2, right? Facing is first, acceptance is second. And allowing is just another way of saying it. Acceptance and allowing does not mean that you like it, that you like the circumstance or the thought that you're having or the pain that you are experiencing, even physically. The fact is that it is there. And so when we come to acceptance, we come to almost accepting reality, accepting that it is there. And what we want to be able to do is to remember that acceptance does not mean that you like it. It means that you are willing to be with it, to be with what is. It also gives us a chance to drop the rope, because when we are tussling and struggling with what is, when we want things to be different than how they are, it's like a tug-of-war with reality. It's pushing and pulling and a lot of expended energy, and the fact is we will never win against reality. Things are as they are. Again, I want to say it over and over again. Acceptance or allowing what is to be does not mean that you have to like it. We drop the rope with reality. We no longer play tug-of-war with reality. Just drop the rope. And then we have more energy and more space around us to actually be able to do what we need to do. Sometimes there's no action involved or needed or necessary, but sometimes there is. And our action is reserved for the things we do have control over. We don't have control over what's happening in life around us. We don't have control over what other people say to us. We don't have control over what other people do. But we do have control over our own reactions, our own perception of what's going on. Believe it or not, shifting how we perceive things can bring us a lot of peace. We'll get to that also. What we don't have control over is the mind producing thoughts. And that is simply the job of the mind. We want to remember that. The thoughts that are running through our mind is just the mind doing what it does. It creates thought, many thoughts, inspiring thoughts, difficult thoughts, challenging thoughts, horrible thoughts. I hear this over and over again, and I have experienced this myself. Thoughts, when I was very anxious state, I tended to believe some of those thoughts, but they are not true. The fact is the mind makes thoughts, and it is our wise mind, our more loving mind, our mind that can separate things out, our conscious mind that makes the decision what to believe and what to take action on. We don't have control over the mind producing thought, but we do have control over our reaction to those thoughts. We can look at our thoughts as a relationship. There's us, and then there's our thoughts, and we can decide which ones we want to hang out with, so to speak, which ones we are going to pay attention to, and which ones we are going to spend time with. And the ones that we are going to take action on is fully within our own control, and our conscious mind, wise mind, makes those decisions. So what's wonderful is that when we drop the rope that I'm talking about here, we actually give ourselves more space and energy to take care of the things and take action on the things that we do have control over. Now we're going to move on to B in our ABCs, and I have B as simply B, B-E, as in being with. This is a great place for us to be able to remember to recognize how acceptance, being with, leads us to sending off fewer danger signals to the mind and body. When we are not overly attached to something, there is more calm energy around it. And what I mean by that is, let's use the body as an example. We have a pain that comes up. Let's say it's a pain in the chest. That happens a lot with people with anxiety. You may be experiencing that yourself. It's very common. We get very tight in the chest, and so we can get pain in there. And it's quite frightening because that is the area of the heart. And so we freak. We get nervous. But if we can recognize how being with this pain would not send out a danger signal, being just with it, noticing it, seeing it with, eyes of an experimenter, of a scientist, of just someone who is checking something out, no opinion about it, just looking at it and seeing that it's there. And we might want to notice, how long does it stay? What kind of tightness does it have? Is it sharp or dull? We may even want to explore it a little bit. But if we can just be with it and not try to make it go away, not try to eliminate it right now, not say, this is a problem, I need to make it go away. When we have that mindset, we send off danger signals to the mind and body, and we begin to feed our cycle of anxiety, our fear, and then it leads to sending off that hormonal cascade, which gives us more anxious thoughts, more physical tension, and more symptoms of anxiety, which only scares us more, and we tell ourselves more stories of this being a problem, of this being a big danger, and that we need to get out of it. We need to change it immediately. And that keeps us in that loop, that very, very sticky loop of anxiety, fear, anxiety. So if we can recognize this, that being with whatever is happening, the thought, the pain, the circumstance, will lead us to having fewer danger signals to the mind and the body. Let the pain, the challenge, the negative thought or circumstance simply come along. Let it be there. No energy, no concern. Attention, but not concern. And you will watch with that spaciousness that you are able then to have, and not clenching down with danger and fear, that a lot of these things dissipate on their own, and actually quite rapidly. It's a practice, I know. And I also want to encourage you, if you have some pain or something that is really triggering you, of course it's fine to go and have that checked out, especially something that is lingering for very long periods of time, or that you get over and over again. We want to have these things checked out if you are overly concerned about it. But you want to be able to give yourself the opportunity to be with it. Everything goes better with calmness. Sickness, illness, stress, pain, everything. If we can bring a calm mind to it, we have a chance to see it more clearly and to know if it is something that requires more attention or not. On to letter C. I have curiosity. Curiosity leads to loss of fear. And so curiosity can lead us to the loss of fear of thoughts, pains, or circumstances. We end up with that kind of feeling like, it's there, but I'm not too excited about it. As one client said to me in our group coaching call last week, she felt kind of bored with a particular thing that used to trigger her. She had sat with it long enough that it had that kind of feeling of she was bored with it. And so we can get to that point where we're not in a need to change it right away, to make it go away, or to panic about it. But we can look at it with curious eyes and really see the pain, the challenge, the negative thought or circumstance. And being curious, it changes our relationship with that. It changes our relationship with the thoughts that come up. And it reminds us that we are fully in charge of our actions and how we're going to do anything with the thoughts that are going through. I say that because if you have intrusive thoughts, you can become afraid of them, be thinking that that's who you are or that's what you will do. But the reality is all minds make those kinds of off-the-wall thoughts, and they can be frightening if you believe them. But we must remember that it is important to see those thoughts with curiosity, not with belief. So we want to see them with curiosity and not belief. And we just let the oddball ones, off-the-wall thoughts go. They come in, they do their little dance, and let them go. You don't need to dance with them. Being curious really does change our relationship with the thoughts, and it reminds us that we are fully in charge of our actions. Please remember that. It will save you a lot of grief, a lot of worry. They are thoughts, and they are not you. Understanding this is great, yet we need to practice it, right? We can get things on an intellectual level, but we actually need to practice these things. So we need a practice of allowing, of being with, and of curiosity. And then we can start to move to a more powerful position, a position that allows us to take action when necessary. And we're clear on that when we are not believing every thought that moves through our head. Fear, anxiety, fear is an endless, self-perpetuating loop. And if we don't interrupt it somewhere, it will continue to go on and on. We want to start the practice. We want to be able to look at how can we change this? Where can we interrupt this loop? Well, I want to share a place that worked well for me, and it was way back in the day, and I used the dental chair to work on this, to accept. Because when you go to the dentist, it's kind of a known fact that you're going to feel pain, especially back when I was doing this. The dentist now is much less full of pain than it used to be. So you got to picture this back a number of years ago, many, many years ago. Sitting in the dentist chair. So I worked on acceptance, knowing that there was going to be pain and actually being with the pain. It was like a drill it was probably filling, or even sometimes the checkup can be uncomfortable, if they're doing poking at you a little bit. So instead of getting nervous, I would set myself up to say it was going to be a practice, that I expected that my mind and body was going to go to states that I didn't particularly care for. I was probably going to get a little sweaty. I was probably going to feel tense. My heart was going to start beating. And so I used that time because I knew it was going to happen. So I was kind of in control, right? So I did have some control. And you're in a very safe environment. The dental chair, they are very familiar with what they're doing, and they have dealt with people of all, relaxed people all the way up to anxiety, panic people. They know what to do. So we're in good hands. And I can remember sitting there taking advantage of that, knowing I was safe and seeing where my mind would go. And then knowing that the pain was temporary, but seeing where my body was going when I felt the pain. I was looking at it with curiosity. So I was using these 3 C's in the dental chair. I was allowing it to happen. I wasn't fighting it. And often when we go into a situation that we know is going to be painful, we are trying to fight it. I allowed it. I let it be. I was being with it, right? I didn't just allow it, but I was being with it. Like, yes, I know you are here. I let the pain be there without judgment. And then I had curiosity about it, which I'm telling you, if you can add curiosity, you will definitely have a loss of fear. So I was curious about where the pain was. Was it sharp? Was it dull? I kind of looked at it more like a scientist. It really, really helped me. And it didn't help me just in the dental chair, but it gave me the confidence to use that same kind of practice in my other places in my life. And I would be more calm in situations that I used to be really tense and nervous with. So look back over your day. Find 1 or 2 moments that you could have had a different relationship with what was. Where could you have inserted some allowing, some being with, or some curiosity? This self-inquiry sends a message to the mind and body that things are safe. We have time to ponder. And don't let anxiety and fear sabotage your interest in inquiry. If negative self-talk arises, use this also as a place to insert compassion. Self-compassion, which is another way out of anxiety panic. So as you can see, life will offer us over and over again times and places to insert these tools, these practices that can begin to send different messages to our mind and body and calm us down. And now for today's quote. The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are. And that is from Marcus Aurelius. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.